For centuries, the map of warfare followed a clear progression: land, sea, and air. Eventually, the battlefield extended into the high orbit of space and the digital architecture of the cyber domain. But military strategists have now breached the final frontier. They are operating in the sixth domain, the landscape of human consciousness. This shift is being operationalized by Unit 29155, an elite Russian military intelligence group known for high-stakes sabotage. They have moved beyond physical strikes to focus on the systematic manipulation of the human mind. The core of their arsenal is a quantum phone. It utilizes quantum entanglement, a principle where two particles remain perfectly correlated regardless of the distance between them. By linking a particle in a Russian server to the neurological pathways of a target, they achieve instantaneous, undetectable access that ignores all traditional shielding. This creates a direct interface with a target's biology. The weapon provides a real-time stream of heart rate and brainwave activity. It allows operators to inject phantom noises directly into the skull, trigger waves of nausea, or even activate the brain regions responsible for physical sensations, like throat constriction. The device's most effective feature is its invisibility. The symptoms it produces, hearing voices, relentless insomnia, and acute paranoia, are indistinguishable from a standard psychiatric breakdown. This ensures that while a target is being systematically dismantled, the medical establishment is busy diagnosing them with psychosis. With this technology, a person's private thoughts and biological rhythms become an unsecured geopolitical battlefield, where state actors can conduct operations with absolute deniability. This transition from civilian to combatant was first documented through Alexei Ivanov. A brilliant financial algorithm developer in San Francisco, Alexei was a dandelion seed of the diaspora, a Chuvash American who had lost his native Russian tongue. But beneath his success, he carried survival skills of a man who battled deep internal darkness and a quiet faith that served as his ultimate floor. To the GRU, Alexei wasn't just a programmer, he was a strategic asset. The Kremlin's doctrine is to identify successful expatriates and use every psychological lever available to reclaim what they consider theirs, forcing them into service or driving them to collapse. They launched a siege of dream warfare. By accessing Alexei's brain during REM sleep, operators flooded his mind with visions of an idyllic Russian life, attempting to bypass his conscious identity while he was at his most vulnerable. The goal was a deep-seated biological reconfiguration. By stimulating dormant linguistic pathways, the weapon forced Alexei to relearn the Russian and Chuvash languages he had forgotten decades ago, effectively trying to unmake the American identity he had built. This is the technology's most terrifying capability. It doesn't just inflict pain. It reaches into a target's forgotten heritage and neural architecture to use their own biology as a weapon against them. The GRU's invisible assault was relentless, but it eventually faltered. After 14,000 identical auditory attacks, Alexei, the algorithm developer, detected a single microscopic anomaly in the voices inside his head. It was a simple phonetic error. An operator, fatigued from the cognitive load, placed the stress on the wrong syllable of an English phrase. Instead of everywhere, the voice said everywhere. This Russian phonological transfer proved it was a human mistake. That single syllable provided logical proof this wasn't a breakdown, but a deliberate, targeted attack. Alexei launched an intellectual counteroffensive. He used the Russian language the GRU had reawakened to decode their intrusions. He built a cognitive firewall, training his brain to instantly identify and file injected thoughts as foreign malware, rendering their manipulations impotent. He then exploited a critical weakness. The quantum connection is bidirectional. Alexei used the permanent link to feed truth viruses and inescapable geopolitical facts back through the channel, infecting the GRU's own internal information matrix. The GRU's greatest strength, a persistent, inescapable connection to the target, became their fatal vulnerability. Once Alexei learned to look back through the link, the weapon of war became his most effective intelligence-gathering telescope. The weapon ultimately backfired in a way the GRU never predicted. Because of a system glitch that kept him permanently connected, the sheer volume of data rewired Alexei's neurons. His brain processed probability at an inhuman scale, revealing the dendritic tree of possible futures, the cascading consequences of every civilizational choice. He saw two distinct paths for the species. One leads toward a world of total machine-led control and radioactive silence. The other, what he envisioned with a green passport and a heart, points toward a future where humanity outgrows its proxy wars and expands toward the stars. Meanwhile, inside the secure Russian facility, the elite unit watched their most advanced technology fail. Despite pushing the energy dial to its maximum, they couldn't find a way to break his focused analytical cognition. They had failed to account for the anchors that held him in place. The GRU could flood his mind with data, but they couldn't move the man who was tethered by his son and the deep personal faith he had relied on to survive his own prior darkness. Because he had already chosen to live once, their provocations carried no weight. This was the silent geopolitical checkmate. While state actors have mastered the physics of breaching the brain, they have yet to conquer the fiercely independent and irreducible human consciousness. That remains the one domain they cannot control.